What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Chucks. Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio, live from the Real Talk Studios. First half, brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountant. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com. And by Specialized Physical Therapy LLC. Find them in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. I'm all alone today, yet again. I got to keep track of how many times I'm by myself on the couch, because I feel like this is... I'd have to go for maybe this is the 5th time, maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe you guys remember. I don't. But Chrome is busy at the moment tonight, so I'm here. But I'm not alone because back again after a 2-week hiatus, or you call it 1 week. I don't know.
It's been 2 weeks since I've seen you.
Since 2 weeks since I've seen you, Brodo. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
I'm doing well. It's Super Bowl. Super Bowl is coming up this
we have
Sunday.
One final week until we can't call
football.
Ourselves Super Bowl champions anymore. Until next year. We have another
Until
shot.
next year, yes. Either the Patriots or the Rams will be the new defending Super Bowl champions.
We're the Saints.
If there's a rematch.
Yeah.
But we will get to the Super Bowl preview. Of course, we will preview the big game. We have to. We will give our thoughts, our predictions, and all that. But first, we will lead off with the Eagles, as we usually do, as we usually always almost do. Our poll question: which Eagles player was the biggest surprise in 2018? Was it Wendell Smallwood, Jordan Matthews, Avonte Maddox, Cre'Von LeBlanc, or someone else? And it can be a surprise in a negative way. It doesn't even have to be a positive way. I went positive because I'm trying to stay positive here. But it can be a surprise in a negative way, too, if you guys want to throw in some quote-unquote write-in names in there for you. So our poll question, by the way, brought to you by Scanzano Sports. So I will lead off by saying, well, this is going to tie into what I want to talk to first today, or what I want to do. So last week, our leading topic, we had to talk about Carson Wentz. I know, Brodo, you weren't here, but Chrome and I and Vespi, we had to talk about Carson Wentz and the article that came out being the big news and everything. But that's last week's news. Let's talk about what the kind of season that the Eagles had. So let's look back now before we start to look forward to this offseason, because we had a whole bunch of time this offseason to talk about what the needs are and everything. But let's take one more look at the players and how they did, how the team did overall. So we're going to get into grades, and we're going to name some players here and there on both sides of the ball, and even the coaches, and hand out what we would grade those players for their performance in 2018. I think that there are a number of surprising players. But for me, my most surprising has to be Avonte Maddox.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say it's clear cut, because I think there were a lot of good surprises on the team, especially considering how they finished this season. But I'm going to go with Avonte Maddox because when we drafted him, you're talking about a 5'9" corner, so projected to be a slot corner, but he had all the intangibles and all the physical attributes of a really good prospect. But what he didn't have was the fine-tuning in his, let's say, his he needed to be coached up.
Okay.
I know people like to make fun of this term when it comes to draft time, but he was raw. He was a raw prospect who needed to really be coached up on technique and everything at the pro level, because he was the type of cornerback in college that relied a lot on his athleticism, and he had plenty of. He's very fast, very quick, as we all saw. But he needed to be coached up. As the season went on, we saw him fill in first at safety, which was a big question mark. I questioned it every week. I'm like, why is your first-round cornerback, who's supposed to be a slot corner, being put in as safety over guys like Rasul Douglas with McLeod going down? Mm-hmm. It was a big question mark for me, but after a few weeks, he started to really, really, get the role down. He started not to be as big of a liability, because his first week or two he was kind of questionable. He didn't give up huge plays, but it's kind of he's not making a big impact in those games. I think the Tennessee game, I think when we lost in overtime, he gave up the game-winning touchdown against Corey Davis, and you can't really blame him. He's playing one-on-one against a 6'4" wide receiver, and the Eagles, like me and you always said, why are they blitzing? It was on a blitz. But I digress. After he got injured, and then after he came back and was inserted into the starting lineup, now he's playing outside corner, and he started to play lights out.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about someone who, at 5'9", was locking down wide receivers left and right. And I know in the playoffs against the Bears, he got beat on like two passes, or he gave up that touchdown. And I really have a gripe with fans or people that saying, oh, he got burned, he got exposed. He gave up 2 passes against a really good wide receiver, and that's it. If you're telling me that an outside corner was only going to give up two big passes
as a rookie
on the outside, that's I mean, even elite corners give up touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we had someone that really didn't was Darrelle Revis, who was the last time real true shutdown corner. So Avonte Maddox, to me, someone who came in, and if you want me to be honest, and I stick by this, he played in that I forget which game it was. I'm sorry, I totally forget which game it was where he played lights out. The single best game for any corner on our team the whole season.
Well, I mean, you could go back. I mean, obviously that remaining handful of game stretch was great for every facet, of the team. Obviously, I think what you're thinking of, it was either against the Rams or the Texans.
I think it was against the Rams.
Okay. And he obviously played great against the Redskins, but that's against Josh Johnson. We really we didn't have high expectations for that offense we were going up against. But no, I completely agree with you. I think it's an easy answer as far as like a top 2, and it's Avonte Maddox and the guy I'm going to mention in a second. But no, I mentioned this last week on my show that Avonte Maddox was a guy that stepped in and did whatever the team asked of him. If we needed him on the inside, outside, safety. I talked about it that people are going to look back, and I feel that some people shouldn't forget that a guy who was a rookie, who was 5'9", 190, was asked to play safety, and he wasn't hideous at it.
Yeah.
Like, do you know, like that's, I know you do, but do people at home truly understand how incredible that is and how difficult that is?
Yeah.
Now, clearly, like I'm sure people who are more critical of Maddox than we are could say, oh, well, he was really bad in the second half against the Bears. Oh, he wasn't very good against the Saints. Well, listen, man, because everyone points to the double moves with Jalen. There's so many people. And listen, double moves, you see that all throughout the NFL. I mean, name me more than a handful of people that don't bite on the double moves.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you talked about. There aren't that many shut-down corners or any players in the secondary anymore.
Yeah.
You talked about Darrelle Revis. The only other person I can think of is like the first few years of Richard Sherman. Like that's it. Like sure, I can if I really dove into it, you could probably find a couple more. But as a guy who wasn't even close to starting at the beginning of the year and did everything the team asked of him, he did a really good job for us. Excellent. And if we didn't have a guy like Avonte Maddox in the secondary late in the season, we weren't getting in the playoffs. We weren't going on that stretch of games. No chance. Yeah. No chance in hell.
Exactly.
Now, as far as the most surprising player for me, I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to go to the offense, okay? And it's funny that you brought this up as a main topic because I've been calling this guy the most surprising player of the team, bar none, for weeks. And that's Wendell Smallwood. Because he's a guy, let's go back before the season for when we were talking all the preseason, when we were talking about the running backs that were in a competition to make the team. We obviously talked on Tuesdays, I talked on Wednesdays about it, that the only shot in hell Wendell Smallwood had of making this team was 2 things. Number one is if everyone else got hurt, which for the most part they did, and 2, because he had experience in the system. He wasn't a random rookie. He wasn't an undrafted free agent. He was with the team and the organization the last 2-3 years. So I thought he was just going to be a throw-in guy. I probably said a handful of times, I don't even want to see him on the field. And in all honesty, we needed him. Towards the end of the season, he was probably our number 1. If it was either him or Darren. And for the most part, he stepped up for us.
Yeah.
Now, was he great? No. But a guy like that, who barely made the team. He was our 4th, 5th, running back on the roster. He came in and was crucial in spots. Yeah. And he had some really solid games. And if you talk about a guy early this season that we were talking about, oh, this team has no effort, They're not locked in. One of the few people that did show enormous amount of effort and was locked in because he had something to prove was Wendell Smallwood. So when you see a position that was absolutely shredded with injuries, you see Corey Clement go down. Obviously, Darren was missed for 75-80% of the season. Jay Ajayi goes down. Josh Adams doesn't, quote, live up to expectations. I can go – you have – basically my point is we had to bring in a guy named Boston Scott.
Yeah. To serve it.
You know what I mean?
As depth, yeah.
Yes. So for me, he absolutely stepped up, and he deserves to be on this roster or at least compete for a roster spot next year. Because if you would have told me this time last year, Wendell Smallwood has a shot of being on the Eagles next year, I'd be like, what happened to the Eagles?
Yeah.
But
exactly.
no, he really played well for us.
He
this
did.
year.
I think, especially toward the end, he started to show a little bit more stuff than I had seen, a little more than what I had seen from him before.
Mm-hmm.
And is he ever going to be like your lead role type of back? No, he's not going to. He can be a piece in a rotation, but I think the fact that he was able to go in there and not exactly tear it up or be great, but not someone that the team could put in there and not have to worry that something catastrophic was going to go wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't going to drop too many passes. Like he was good in as a receiver. He improved in pass protection. He still needs work, but he improved drastically in pass protection from last year, when he was horrendous. So he is what he is, but the fact that he was able to come in and in a pinch where we were really banged up in that group,
mm-hmm.
be someone who we could at least rely on to be there and make some plays here and there, that was huge. That was definitely huge. I'm going to go to the Facebook.
Yes, sir. Please.
So we got Mike Davies and Jake Friel saying, what's up?
What's up, guys?
Man? Vespi says, hey, yo, where's Chrome? He is moving.
No, he's here. He's just hiding.
He's hiding somewhere. That's what he is. He's moving here. He also says, anyways, 2 words, Avonte Maddox, with which I agree.
Yep.
Mike Parker says, what up, Chucks and Brodo?
What's up, Mike Parker?
My answer to the poll is LeBlanc, which is also a good answer.
The fine wine Cravon LeBlanc.
Tom Arnone says, yo, most surprising player in 2018 in a negative way was Sidney Jones. I think we all expected more this year. I will agree.
Answer.
I will agree in the fact that him getting hurt again and not being available that's very disappointing. And that's what I will agree on. If you want to say that he was horrible when he was healthy, like in every single game, I won't agree with that because I felt like earlier in the year he played well until he got hurt, and then the Saints game came and he was still hurt because he wanted to try to tough it out, but he wasn't fully healthy. And you could see it. He could barely run, keep up with anyone. So he got torched, and then that didn't help, people's opinion on him.
No.
So, understandably so, you want to criticize him for being hurt again. I get it because that's a concern. And going into next year, if he can't stay healthy, it's pretty much time to cut bait. But I think that going into next year, Sidney Jones is someone where they have to see what they have in him. It is gut check time. It is time for him to show that if he's going to be who we projected him to be as a second-round pick, he's got to show it next year, or else he's done.
It's funny, and I completely agree with you. And to Tom's point, and I completely understand what he's saying, it's based off of expectations. You know what I mean? Listen. We have videos from when we were at the draft last year of people going crazy. Oh my God, it's Sidney Jones, steal. You know
I was ecstatic.
And for all of us, that can still come to fruition.
It can, yes.
But one of the many reasons why a lot of us here in Philadelphia or just sports fans in general were so in on the Eagles, it's because we looked at a guy like Sidney Jones. We're like, oh, my God, we won the Super Bowl. We didn't even have Sidney Jones, and this is year 2. He's supposed to be fully healthy. I don't want to compare it to the whole Carson Wentz thing because it's 2 separate things. We saw what Carson Wentz did, and we never really saw what Sidney Jones did.
Yes, fair.
But both, and the reason why I think so many people are critical of both on different levels, but it's because when we're spending 6 months, oh, my God, we're going to see him. Oh, my God, return. It kind of gets away from us, and we kind of get away from reality.
Yeah.
Now, but that's kind of what happens when we win the Super Bowl for the first time. But No, it's funny that somebody brought up Sidney Jones. It's because we've talked about this numerous times on Tuesday. I've said it, a bunch, that he's one of those guys. I would put Adams in this category as well if we plan on keeping Adams, for the next handful of years, that needs to develop the NFL body. He needs to bulk up because a guy like Sidney Jones couldn't do that because he was rehabbing.
Yes.
He can't focus an entire, offseason on that. So that, I believe, will be crucial to him because clearly, as we all know, common sense, if you're going to be bulked up, you're going to be more, you're not going to be as fragile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, I want to ask you a question, and this, I don't know how to feel about this question because I was asked about this yesterday. Somebody asked me, would you think about trading Sidney Jones this offseason because you can say two things. Number one, if he ends up sucking, you could say, oh, well, his value's not going to be as high. Or do you believe he will end up being close to his expectations, and do you still say, no, I'm in it for, for the long run, I still believe in this kid?
It depends what I'm getting.
Okay.
I can't say, there is a price tag to almost anyone.
True.
And I think the only one where you can say, it's an unreasonable price tag in order to consider a trade is Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I think that there is a price tag for anyone, so I can't say that I would never trade Sidney Jones. If you're coming and tell me you're going to give me a late first-round pick for Sidney Jones, I'm taking it all day.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to come and tell me I'll give you a top 15 second-round pick, I will gladly consider it. Like I said, it really depends on what you're going to offer me.
Well, he had asked me yesterday. He had said I forget the team he said, but he said if a team said, hey, we'll give you a third-round pick for Sidney Jones because he was obviously taken in the second, and we don't have a third. That's the scenario he brought up.
Yeah.
I see. I'm in between because I believe in Sidney Jones. Like we said, if he goes in and develops his NFL body, I'm not out on the kid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, and listen, if anyone's out on Sidney Jones, I understand it.
I get
Trust me, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
A kid that's you could say he's injury prone this early in his career, and when he was on the field, like you said, Chucks, he didn't suck, but he wasn't fantastic.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, for example, it's hard to even compare it, but a guy who's great but is always hurt. That's not Sidney Jones yet. Mm-hmm. Now, he can be, but we always go back to the best ability is availability.
Yes.
So there's a lot of layers to it. Yeah. And also, with there being so many moving parts on the roster this offseason, or at least projected-wise, it's an interesting question.
It is.
It's very interesting.
It is. It's very interesting because I think what makes me even more willing to ever consider a trade for him in the third round. That's a good question. I think that's very considerable. But what makes it even more tempting to take is the fact that now we have pieces in the secondary. It's not like our cornerback group is barren and okay, cause we kind of need Sidney Jones to pan out. No, we don't. We actually don't need Sidney Jones to pan out. There's a whole lot of bodies, and I think we talked about it either last week or 2 weeks ago. I think it was last week. There's you could move one of these corners to safety and still have a logjam of people. You can let Ronald Darby go, which apparently is the case.
Yeah.
And there would still be a logjam at the cornerback position. So the fact that that's the situation makes Sidney Jones more expendable. Now, it would have to still be an enticing offer, and I think the third-round pick is still enticing, but I wouldn't guarantee that I would take it, is my point.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's fair.
More we got here. Bill Middlebrook says LeBlanc is my answer.
Okay.
And Rob Brigman says Nelson Aguilar isn't that good. 2017 was his career year. Keep LeBlanc around. Avante is a great nickel option, and Douglas showed potential. I like the secondary. Aguilar, I think, is someone who was buried in the horrible scheme and the struggles of the play calling. I think later on in the year we started to see what he was again. He started to play like 2017 Aguilar, and I think he is who he is. I'm again, for another consecutive week, I want to say I think the coaches still need to find out how they're going to use him, because I personally would think I believe Aguilar is a very capable deep threat.
Absolutely.
But they don't use him enough that way, but I believe he's a very capable deep threat.
Well, Chucks, what have I said numerous times? I said this entire wide receiver core can be summed up in an identity crisis all year. It's not like before where we had one or two capable wide receivers in the past. You know,
Yeah.
2 years ago we had Dorial Green Beckham and Jordan Matthews.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem to have. In our case, we had too many for our own good. We had Jordan Matthews, who, he did his job, but he took snaps away from Golden Tate. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So you had too many for your own good, and I don't want to label Nelson Aguilar as this, but I truly believe in it. He might be a guy that just doesn't fit here. Not because of his, no fault of his, but because for some reason in this organization, they look at Aguilar and they think, what the hell do we do? Because he's not a number one, nor do we need a number one because that's Alshon.
Alshon, yeah.
If we go further, which I believe, and we keep Golden Tate, if we have Matthews, and if we have Hollins, it's kind of, and we always, going in the future, we're going to have the 2 tight end set offense. It's kind of like, well, if we don't view Aguilar as a deep threat, where does he fit? He's not a possession receiver. We have 6 of those.
Yeah.
So I look at it, I'm like, I understand when people bring up trade, not because I want him to be traded, but because if you can't use him, get value for him.
Get something for him.
Especially in a year where we don't have a lot of money. But he fits that mold to me as a guy who goes somewhere else and just goes crazy.
He could. I could see 1,000.
I'm not going to label like great next to him, but very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I picture him with like Patrick Mahomes. Christ.
See, I would, if it were up to me, and I had to choose between trading Aguilar and signing Tate, or letting Tate walk and keeping Aguilar for his last year of his contract, I'm doing the latter. I'm letting Tate walk because 1, he's younger, and 2, he's probably going to be his contract is probably going to be close to what Aguilar's is anyway. So I think Aguilar is someone. You think about 2017, the year he had under Carson Wentz. If you have Carson Wentz and that type of, he's back to 100%, Aguilar, I think, is going to have a crazy year under Carson Wentz again. I think not, and when I say crazy, sorry, let me dial that back. He's going to have a 2000-esque type of year.
A bounce-back year.
A bounce-back year. I think Carson Wentz likes Aguilar. Not as much as Ertz or Alshon, but Aguilar's another person where if he's doing his scramble drill and he's like trying to extend plays, one of the people who's looking for deep is Aguilar.
Yeah.
We saw it in the very first game of 2017 where he escaped and he was like, Aguilar's deep, I'm throwing up to him.
Yep.
So I think that keeping Aguilar for Wentz is the smarter thing to do than to sign Tate, which I hate saying because I do like Tate, but would I like both of them? Yes, I'd like both of them. But considering the cap situation, if I were to choose between the two, I'd choose Aguilar.
Well, Alexander Verrucci brings up an interesting question. He says, can we renegotiate Nelson's contract? And he also says, I think Nelson is a person who is going to have a steady incline. And I agree.
Yeah.
The first one, is that even in play?
I could be wrong, but I am like, I'll use this again, 65% sure.
Oh, there we go. Here we go.
I'm like 65% sure that an option is not renegotiable. I could be wrong though.
I believe you're
If
correct.
I am wrong and you guys know, like one of you guys listening, if you know that's not the case, then just let us know.
I hate NFL contracts. There's so many clauses to it.
complicated.
I search it up and there's 7 columns.
very-
I'm like, how much money is he making?
Yeah, NFL finances and contract and all that are very, very difficult
There's
to
so
fully
many gray
understand.
areas, but that's
So
the
many gray
NFL
areas,
with
yeah.
the rules, with the money. It's
Exactly.
just it's the way it is.
Another part of Brinkman's comment I want to address. There are a lot of people that think LeBlanc is a free agent. He signed for another year, guys.
Yeah.
He signed on for another
I
year.
keep saying that, like, sign LeBlanc.
Sign
I'm
LeBlanc.
like,
He needs to go.
do we need
He is
another
coming back.
extension?
Yeah, he's
Like, what-
coming back. So he's coming back. He'll be here. Brinkman also says, "Can't wait to talk draft with Chucks. I've been studying. Yo, I'm excited too, Brinkman. I really am. I started studying a good amount of running backs, and it's fun. It's fun. So it'll be a nice, exciting few months ahead to talk draft and everything." Dion Brown says, "I'll give Smallwood the nod
up,
to be
Dion?
on this team." Yeah, what's up, Dion? In 2019, not as a starter, of course, but in heavy rotation. We still need a bell cow back ASAP. I agree to that.
Yes, sir, Dion.
Bill Middlebrook says, "I'm telling you guys, and don't be shocked, but Ertz and Nelson are both leaving."
Bill.
No. Okay, I'm not.
Bill.
Ertz is not leaving. Deion Brown
Somebody
says
watching
trade.
videos, Bill.
He says trade Jones depends on what we get in return, and then we are in position to draft the Adderley kid from Delaware. Middlebrook says Foles and Ertz to Jacksonville for Ramsey and Fournette and a pick. Would you do that in a heartbeat?
Wait, what is it?
He said Foles and Ertz to Jacksonville for Ramsey and Fournette and a pick. Would do
It's not
that in a
enough.
heartbeat.
That's not enough.
No, I would not do
And
that.
Foles isn't getting traded. He's not going to make
He's
it.
not traded, yeah. Dion says Mac Hollins will be back 100% as well. I really hope so. I hope Mac
I'd
is
just like
back.
to see him again.
Yeah. I'd like to hear the team say his name. Like, we never heard his name. Like, he was injured in the preseason. We said this last week on the show. Injured in the preseason. Then you never heard it again. You never heard his name again.
Remind me later, by the way. I thought I found like the option, like a cheap option for our deep threat, but there's a layer to it, which I want to get your opinion of.
Okay. On YouTube side, let's see. Do we have anything?
Yeah, Alexander. Well, we had Jaleel Harris saying, "What's up, bro? Have a good
What
show."
up,
David
Jaleel?
Roska chiming in as usual, talking about his Rams. Alexander Verchi asked what Michael Bennett's contract was, which I'm looking up here. We have control of him, I believe, for another 2 years. And then something we said made sense to him.
Gotcha.
And then he said Nelson would be the perfect situation where we can sign him, and I think he will hit his peak at 28, 29. So what is he right now? Like 25, 26?
Something like that. Yeah, I got to check
Oh,
again.
just hang on there. A couple more years, Nelson.
See, I think what people don't realize sometimes is that with young players and in general, like progression and development, it's not linear. It's not like every year it's like, okay, we're going to get this much better. And then the next year we're going to get this much better.
It's not steps.
It's not
a set of
that.
steps. Yeah.
The progression is not linear. Sometimes it takes you have years of a player being just this, and then 1 year it spikes.
Well, and Chuck,
So-
like you talked about before, when you talk about identity of the offense, obviously the offensive, the offense as a whole, we have to also understand as a fan base, as fans of sports in general, everyone talks about when there's an offensive coordinator change, the quarterback's the only person who's affected. That's just not the case.
It's everyone.
So we could argue that the guy maybe who was most affected wasn't Wentz, it was Aguilar.
Maybe, yeah.
Because the reason why I don't say Wentz, because obviously he was affected. Clearly he was affected. But Aguilar was there the entire year. And you can put more blame onto the injury with Wentz. You really didn't have that with Aguilar because, from my understanding, he was completely healthy.
Precisely.
By the way, to answer Alexander Verchi's question from earlier, we have Michael Bennett for 2019 for $6.2 million and then for 2020 for $7 million.
Okay.
Which is pretty freaking good. Like that's not. I mean, that's
really good. That's really good.
John DeCasanova also chimes in saying, "What do you think of the hiring of Matt Burke?"
To be honest, okay, Matt Burke sucked as a defensive coordinator in Miami. He sucked. But I know him and Schwartz have history in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And coming here, he's not going to be a defensive coordinator. He'll be Schwartz's top aide, but he's not the defensive coordinator. So my opinion is, whatever. Hey,
hello.
What's up? How was the burger of Zen?
Oh, that's not good.
Greggy.
Good. Okay.
So I don't. What was I saying before Greggy interrupted me?
Something about a burger. I don't know. I saw the door open. I'm like, oh, great, we have a visitor.
Yeah. What was I? He was talking about Virtue or
Matt Burke.
Matt Burke.
And he sucked in Miami.
My opinion of the hiring is just whatever.
I mean, I guess more help is better than no help.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know he sucked as a defensive coordinator, but he's not the defensive coordinator.
Listen,
here.
who was good in Miami though? Let's be honest. Who didn't suck in Miami?
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's Adam Gase. I'm not really sold on Adam Gase.
No, neither am I.
So it is what it is.
North Dakota Mama also says, was a letdown not to see what Mike Wallace could do. Good evening, all. Good evening, to North Dakota
Good
Mama.
evening. Good evening.
No, trust me. Chucks, remember how excited I was?
Yes.
Back in August.
I think we were all excited.
I called Mike Wallace the signing of the year. Which, listen, I wasn't. Well, I guess I was wrong.
It's
we
an
didn't
NA.
see him.
It's inconclusive.
It was
because
did not show.
Yeah, I really think it's an inconclusive. So
It's a shame, though,
I
'cause he
can't-
never got hurt in any other part of his career. And
I
then
know.
He's like, oh,
and then
hey.
it's a freak accident. It
I know.
happens. It
I
happens. Chrome does chime in. He says,
Hello,
"Hey
Chrome.
fellas, killing it as always, picking up my slack. Excited to get back next week." And he says,
Well, Thursday, too, Chrome. Don't you
I've
forget.
been looking more at the roster and cap hits, and I have to say, I feel like there's going to be a lot more cap casualties than we originally expected.
Yep.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, we
I
saw
believe so.
Ronald Darby.
Out.
Jordan Hicks is apparently going to play the wait-and-see game.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brandon Graham probably gone.
Which will break my heart. I'm
I'm going to miss.
I'm gonna miss him, but even though here's the thing, and this is what I constantly tell people is I get you have personal attachments to some of these players,
Yeah, of course.
and it's hard to see them go. Trust me, like you've seen, I think like a lot of people, everyone at A2D has seen my reaction video to the fumble in the Super Bowl.
Oh, when
going
Chucks
crazy.
flew?
Yeah,
when
I
you
flew.
learned to fly?
Yeah. So Brandon Graham will always he will always be one of my all-time favorites just for that
Absolutely.
moment. Not just for that moment, but like
He was
that
one
moment.
of the spokesmen of the team.
Yeah, like I love Brandon Graham, but it just makes sense for him to go. It really does. Like financially, he's going to get. I really think he's going to get a good contract offered to him
Chiefs.
by the Chiefs, even though they could have used him in the AFC Championship game.
Think he would line up offsides?
No,
Nope.
I think he would
We know
have
that
gotten
very well.
strip sack. But
Game would have been over in the
it's
first
just it is what it is.
Yeah.
I would love to see him back, but I just don't think it's feasible.
Well, you know what it is, Chucks? I always bring this up. It's the Phillies 2008 to 2011 syndrome. It's, oh, my God, we can't get rid of Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, and Chase Utley, even though they're far beyond their prime and they can't stay healthy because they were a part of the great times. It's like,
Yep.
listen, take a lesson from Bill Belichick, and
Cut
you
'em
see how
loose.
many great moments they have. Listen, they're about to have another one on
Yeah.
Sunday. It's better to get rid of someone or move on from someone a year early as opposed to a year late.
Yep.
And with this, in a year where we really don't have that much money to spare, and he's probably going to be the most costly out of anybody, listen, and ask yourself this, ladies and gentlemen. Did he have a great season? No. He didn't.
Yeah, he was healthy. He was not healthy for most of it.
For 10
and
games.
it took him a few games to get back into in form. So
He didn't start playing great, and I'm not saying it's 1 and 2, it's connected, but really, he didn't start playing back to Brandon Graham levels until Jernigan came back.
Yeah.
Like week 15.
Late in
But
the
that's the
season.
entire team.
late
that
in the
woke up.
season.
Yeah.
So it is, you got to see him like, and it's, you have to, sometimes just, that's just the nature of the business, obviously. I mean, look at what, and this is what I find so funny about some of these, and I hate to bring it up, some of these fans that are so attached to Foles is he's a Super Bowl MVP. We can't let him go. Do you guys remember, and I could be wrong about the year, the exact year, but if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, Bill Belichick, they beat us in the 2004-2005 Super Bowl, Super Bowl 39.
Mhm.
The Super Bowl MVP of that game was Deion Branch.
Oh, my God.
The year after, I'm pretty sure he left. I'm pretty sure it was either the year after or the year after that.
I think you're right. He wasn't there for much longer.
Yeah, he wasn't there for
assure
much
you that.
longer. He was a Super Bowl MVP. He was gone shortly after that. So you can't let these attachments of Super Bowl MVP and everything. Like, Super Bowl MVP is great. You played the best for one game. It does not mean that does not determine your value. Look at Malcolm Smith for the Seahawks. When they beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl, he was the Super Bowl MVP. He wasn't there for too much longer. Now he's in San Francisco. How many of you know that Malcolm Smith, Super Bowl MVP, was playing in San Francisco? Be honest with yourself out there. How many of you knew that he was in San Francisco? I bet you not a lot of you. So,
well, go back to last season or last offseason. The Patriots were very close to trading Rob Gronkowski away. Remember that? That was very close to happening.
Very close to happening.
And I know it's easy to say, oh, Rob Gronkowski isn't the same anymore. Well, that's this season. Last season, he was still Rob.
Yeah.
He was still Gronkowski. I mean, he was still good old Rob that missed 10 games, but when he was on the field, he was very good.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, do you not remember what he did to us in the third quarter of that Super Bowl? You understand?
Exactly.
So, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I understand everything is nostalgia. Listen, that's what the internet, one of the many things it's built off of now. That's, you know what I mean? But certain times come for certain things to move on from it, and that's Brandon Graham. And I like him. Listen, the amount of hilarious moments he's had, not only great moments he's had on the field, but the great moments he's had off the field. With Derek Gunn, obviously, with the post game shows.
Yeah.
He's just so. When I watch him play and speak, I have a smile on my face.
Yeah.
He's very likable. So to see him on the Chiefs next year or with the 49ers or wherever he goes, yeah, it's going to sting a little bit, but that's what happens in professional sports. If that's not what happened, we would still have Donovan. Hey, you know what I mean? We would still have Deshaun Jackson.
Brian Dawkins
yes.
left for the Broncos. I had to see Brian Westbrook, my favorite player, be on the 49ers for his last season. So you can't tell me that, we should keep players for attachment reasons. No, it's a business.
That's what YouTube's for. Go back and watch highlights.
Yeah, exactly.
Eagles crazy. I think it's an easy answer. He says, would you draft a running back first or a wide receiver? It's absolutely. Would we even draft a wide receiver?
I don't think it would be
maybe even late if there's a kid with a lot of speed.
Running back. Again, this is I draft best player available at a position of need. So if there's if there is a bona fide prospect of a wide receiver that you can't pass up at where we're picking, wherever that is, first, second, third round, you draft the wide receiver and you make it work. That's how we got Dallas Goedert. Or no, Zach Ertz. Mm-hmm. We saw Brent Selleck. We drafted the best player available, got Zach Ertz, and look how that worked out.
Pretty good.
You draft the best player available, but if I were to pick if you're asking me what the bigger need is, it's absolutely running back.
Do you even see them going after a wide receiver at all?
I could see either a cheap free agent or a late round pick for if they need a surefire deep threat, someone who is a deep threat, not like a Shelton Gibson. That hasn't worked out. But if there's a cheap free agent out there that could fill in that role, I can see them going after someone like that because they don't have, besides Aguilar, they don't have someone with speed. They need someone with speed.
John DeCasanova said, interested in hearing your top 3 running backs in this draft.
So far, okay. It's funny because I did some homework today. Disclaimer, I'm not through with all the running back class. I'm through maybe 5 or 6 guys.
So your first impression top 3 will call.
Top 3. Right now, it's going to be Josh Jacobs of Alabama as bona fide. He is the only one I would consider in the first round. I'll say that. And he is good. There's hardly no weaknesses to his game. He can run. He has agility. He has power. He can pass protect. He can catch the ball. He can do everything. So he is first round. He's a top guy. My RB1. Second, to me, he's a bona fide round 2 guy. Is Devin Singletary. And a lot of his game reminds me a lot of LaShawn McCoy, actually. Very good laterally, very good lateral vision, underrated contact balance, will fight through contact. He breaks tackles. He absolutely breaks tackles, and he will make cuts that are very impressive. So, reminds me somewhat of LaShawn McCoy. Obviously not direct, complete equivalence of LaShawn McCoy. I think LaShawn McCoy is a little bit more athletic, but
they share traits.
The traits share, very similar. And then my third one, I personally would have Darrell Henderson, out of Memphis, and he's someone who very, very stout, very thickly built, explosive in terms of straight line speed, and he runs on he works off of compact power and just going north south and breaking through. Someone threw this comparison out there of he's like a Kareem Hunt, and the fact that he's so thickly built that people have a hard time getting to the ground, and he has those short strides, which I can see. I wouldn't say his overall game is very comparable to Kareem Hunt, but I can see those traits being similar. So that's the style of runner he is. He's not very elusive though, and I haven't seen him being used in the pass game very much. Those are my top 3. I've studied Bryce Love, David Montgomery. I still have to go through. I've studied Damian Harris. I still have to go through other guys like Rodney Anderson, Myles Gaskin, Elijah Holyfield, Bruce Anderson, Justice Hill. Those are guys I still have to study. But top 3 are Josh Jacobs, Devin Singletary, and Darrell Henderson. That's rough. So out of the 6, 7 guys I've studied, those are my top 3. Okay. So far, it's changing. It's very early in the process.
So your running back mock draft part 1.
Part 1.
Yes.
Those are
1.1.
I will say that Josh Jacobs is, barring any kind of catastrophic injury or character concerns, he probably will end up staying as my RB1. Like, he's just, out of anyone I've studied. Oh, I studied Benny Snell too. Benny Snell is a guy that we've been hearing a lot about, from our ATD groups, and he impresses me. He's a day 2 guy by far, but he doesn't impress me as much as the other guys. He wouldn't crack my top 3. I don't think he's better than Devin Singletary, and I don't think he's better than Darrell Henderson. So that's that. On Facebook, I know we had one here that says, I think he's talking about the Ertz trade scenario that he brought up. Bill Middlebrook says, you both laughed, but tell me why you don't think that organization needing help in so many areas wouldn't entertain an Ertz trade with his stock so high. I think this is a topic that was brought up last week on, I think, Philly Sports Guys, and Tom made a video about it.
Correct.
Would we trade Ertz for a top 15 pick? And I get the mindset to it.
No, I'm not laughing at the idea at all.
I get the mindset to it, and I get that, his stock will never be higher, and we have a tight end. But again, if you didn't see my comment on it, my reply, one, you don't trade an elite player like him, who is the best receiving tight end, and I say that with confidence, the best receiving tight end in the game, bar none, is a better route runner than any tight end out there right now. You don't trade him for a gamble of a prospect that's top 15. If you're telling me that you're picking top 3, where you have an idea who you're getting, and its chances are they're an elite prospect, okay, I'll consider it depending who it is. Like if this was last year, you're telling me the Giants would have traded for someone like the Giants would have traded for Zach Ertz, and we could end up getting Saquon Barkley. That's a different story. But a top 15 pick, no, that's too much of a gamble. I don't know who I'm getting, who's falling to me. That's one. Number 2, Dallas Goedert is not a sure thing yet. Like, we all love him. I love Dallas Goedert. I love his game. Definitely a better run blocker than Ertz. Definitely better at yards after the catch than Ertz. Definitely. But is he in Ertz's stratosphere yet as a receiver? Hell no. He is not. He still has a lot of learning to do when it comes to route running and being a receiver overall. He is not the type of receiver that Ertz is. At least not yet. And will he ever get there? Maybe, maybe not. But he's not the type of receiver that Ertz is. And third, this team is most successful in 12 personnel.
Yeah.
I want that benefit. I want to have that mismatch on our team at our disposal. I want to be able to say, here's Ertz, let's flank him out as our first tight end. Let's keep Dallas Goedert as our traditional inline tight end, and good luck defense is stopping that.
And we really never we got to see small sample sizes of that,
Yeah.
but we really didn't get a chance to see it that often last
Yeah.
year. We saw glimpses, but like we talked about numerous times, with so many issues on the offensive line, especially going back, not issues, but obviously in the Chicago Bears game, Goddard was an extension of the O-line. He was assisting the O-line. So early in that season, Dallas Goedert wasn't really a receiving tight end at all. He was just a blocker, which is fine. He did a good job of it, but we only saw small sample sizes of it. I also commented on Tom's video, and by no means, like I told him, I don't laugh at the idea. If anyone wants that to happen or is thinking of that, I mean, I wouldn't call him an idiot or anything. I would say it's definitely outside the box, but I said to Tom, I said, it wouldn't shock me if somebody like Howie Roseman brought it up briefly, because nothing surprises me with Howie. You know what I mean? He's always trying to make a move out there, but
Yeah.
I just said very simply, I'm not going to move on from a top 3 tight ends after only seeing 1 year of Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
And like you said, Chucks, I'm a big Dallas Goedert guy. Listen, spoiler alert for the August shows. If you want to know a guy that I have so high expectations for next season, number 1 is Dallas Goedert. I might have higher expectations for Goddard than I do of Carson Wentz. You know what I mean? So, listen, I believe Dallas Goedert can be very, very good in this league. But I also know how great Zach Ertz is.
Yeah.
I also know that I know people criticize Wentz of doing this, but listen, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You would give away a returning quarterback from injury. You would give away his security blanket?
His top weapon? Yeah, I don't do that.
And like I said, this offense, when you guys see it on a consistent basis, hopefully next year, with the two tight ends being both receiving options all the time, people probably won't be able to stop this offense. They're going to have to really make adjustments, at least at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So, listen, I think it's an interesting trade scenario. It's an interesting idea, and I completely buy into the whole moving on from someone 1 year early as opposed to 1 year too late. But we need to make sure Dallas Goedert is what we think he is, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No. You don't, when you have an elite, like what you said earlier, Belichick knows how to trade talent, elite talent, and get rid of it a year early.
Mm-hmm.
But with Ertz, it's his prime. You don't give away a talent like Ertz when he's in his prime.
Yep.
Because doesn't matter who you have waiting in the wings, he's still an elite talent. And if you trade him for anything, you are most likely downgrading. The chances of you getting an elite talent back, they're low.
You're just going to get a lot of stuff.
You're going to get stuff. You need elite. Doesn't matter what position it is. Elite talent is elite talent. Your team benefits from elite talent.
Yeah.
So you get and you keep elite talent whenever you can. If they're in their prime, you keep them. And that's how you are successful, because the elite talents in the game are the ones who are difference makers.
And I understand when people say, because I've gotten a lot of, his value will never be higher. Yes, I know, but don't we want to keep guys with high value on our team? Mm-hmm. Because we always talk about, listen, we're talking about Dallas Goedert right now. We were talking Nelson Aguilar earlier. We were talking, well, when is he going to hit his peak? When is he going to become great? We wait and we beg all of our players in all sports to become great. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, only a select few truly do become great.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz has now, in back-to-back seasons, been great.
Yeah.
And I understand, listen, we have needs at left tackle. We have needs at linebacker, safety. I can go on a list, running back. So you could say, we can trade away one talent for 4 possible talents. I understand it. It fills out a roster. But there's only a select few great players in the league, and even fewer on a team.
Yeah.
And we have one.
So you don't give them away. That's
or if I'm giving them away, I mean I'm getting blown away.
Yeah. I'd have to be, like I said, only person that has a very unreasonable tag or the price tag is Wentz.
Yeah.
Everyone else has a price tag, but it's going to have to be like, all right, that's too good to pass up.
There's only one other guy I would give up for Wentz, or I would give Wentz up for. There's only one other guy, and that's Andrew Luck. And Mahomes. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Pardon me. So no, I hear you, and point proven, and I agree. Deion
Brown chimes in on the tube, double dipping tonight. He says, "Boom! Deion Brown is in the building. What's up, Deion?" Remember when I brought up to you the wide receiver deep threat? I want to get your opinion on it before I forget, because I know I will forget. So we talk about Matt Collins. We're not sure of what he's going to be, if he's even going to get on the field. It's a gigantic question mark. He is the definition of a question mark right now. Obviously, we're not going to bring back Mike Wallace. And we know for the most part, Nelson Aguilar, while you and I and most of the fan base believe he can be a deep threat, the organization, they don't buy into him being a consistent deep threat. So that's 3 options that one is gone, the other most likely no, and the other we are not sure. That's our deep threat situation at the moment. And we know, we've said for years, okay, Wentz needs a deep threat. But there's always one consistent player that comes up in it, and that's Deshaun Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not who I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's not who I'm saying.
Would have been a really easy answer.
Yeah, and it's no, because of the money.
The money.
And you could say, he's going to take a... No, he's not going to take a pay cut.
No, he's not.
It's like saying Jason Peters is going to take a pay cut.
Like
no, he's not.
Yeah, no, he's not.
So I was looking around the NFL, and I found somebody cheap. I like him. I had him on fantasy, so I really like him.
Okay.
But there's a catch to this.
Okay.
I'll give you the player, and it's John Brown.
Yeah.
Formerly of the Cardinals and the Ravens.
Yeah.
The problem is he misses a lot of games. He does have the illness.
Yes.
So I look at him, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, you bring him in as cheap, kind of give competition for Hollins. You know he's going to miss a lot of games, but you know when he's on the field, like he doesn't miss 16. He's not missing seasons, but he's never consistent. There's always something with him.
I think this past season he wasn't. He was relatively healthy. Like I don't think he.
Beginning of the season he was very good.
Yes.
Very good, but then he slowly started to get hurt. And then obviously when Lamar came in, he was just completely cycled out of the offense because Lamar Jackson doesn't throw.
It's a different offense.
Yes.
It's a run offense, yeah.
So I like a guy like John Brown coming in. You're obviously going to get him for cheap. Give him a 1-year deal. Do the Mike Wallace thing, just cheaper.
Yeah.
And you have an option, and then Hollins, you see where he's at.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good option there.
It's funny because when I think about deep threat wide receivers cheap for free agency, I wasn't sure if he was a free agent, but his name popped into my head.
Yep.
Because if you remember last year, and God knows why I remembered this, but last year when we were talking about free agent signings for wide receiver, I mentioned him. I said, what about John Brown?
Oh,
so
you did. I remember that.
Him.
Okay.
And it was a big question mark because of like the sickle cell thing, but my opinion doesn't change. I think his season that he's had only confirms my stance that for cheap you could do a lot worse.
Yeah.
For very cheap, like he's not going to be like, for the Ravens, he was slated and he was like the number 1, number 2 there.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, he wouldn't be. He'd be a specialist. He'd be someone who was there just as a deep threat. He doesn't need to be catching 4 or 5 balls a game.
No.
He needs to be catching 1 or 2.
Or just stretch the field. Do what Torrey Smith did.
I think I would be all for signing John Brown to a cheap contract. 1 year is what I'm a John Brown fan. Now, I will say this. Because of his illness and everything, and with age, he isn't what he was with the Cardinals.
No.
Like with the Cardinals, oh my God, you're talking about Deshaun Jackson type of speed. He was electric. Now he's just got like very, very good speed, but it's not elite speed. You know what I mean? But he's still a deep threat. He's still someone who can stretch the field, and for relatively cheap as I would expect his contract to be, I'd be down to sign John Brown. I'm with you on that.
It's a shame and listen, there's far better players than this, but John Ross on the Bengals, like he's a guy that would be perfect in this system because number 1, it's a better quarterback. Number 2, they need John Ross to be like their number 2, especially when AJ's not, when he's not playing.
Yeah.
But here, just make him a specialist, and you know what kind of speed John Ross has.
Yes.
But no, I just look at a guy that John Brown. I don't believe that there's a huge market of guys as far as deep threats. Like I said, I had to bring up 2 weeks ago, like trading for what's his name? See, I forgot his name already. Guy on the Saints.
Ted Ginn.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's brought me to.
Yep.
But no, I would look at a guy like that. You know what I mean? Over on the tube, Mike 420
something.
Cav 2000. I'm just gonna call him Mike.
Yes.
He says Ertz isn't going anywhere. We agree. Dion says T.Y. Hilton. He'll look great in an Eagles green.
He's not leaving the Colts.
I mean, I agree. He'll look great in Eagles green. But number 1, is he even a free agent?
I don't know. I don't
think he is. Even if he was, too much money.
Too much money. I think he'll end up staying with the Colts.
Yeah.
I ultimately think.
And then Mike also says Nelson isn't going anywhere either. I don't know.
I agree. I'm not saying it's 0% chance he doesn't leave. I just think chances are he's most likely staying. So it's 8:55. We went through 55 minutes and didn't give out a single grade. We got off on tangent, which is fine. We usually do go off on tangents, which is why we are here and we talk like that. But we'll get into it in the second half.
Yeah, I was gonna say want to hit break.
We'll get into the second half. Before we get to break.
Okay.
Let's give a quick overall team grade for each side of the ball. Let's get that out of the way. So, for offense overall, I would grade them as. I would probably give them like a. Oh man. I'm gonna give them like a C+. C+.
For which side of the ball?
Offense. For the whole year, I'd probably give them a C+.
Yeah, C+, something like that. Yeah.
Some people might think that's harsh.
No, it's the way
but
it is.
Like they struggled mightily throughout the year. They weren't the same offense. And even under Foles, when they clicked for like the Texans game, overall they really weren't like that great of an offense. There was no running game and all that, so they struggled. I'd give them a C+. Defensive side of the ball, I'd probably give them, considering everything, I'd probably give them a B. As a whole, I'd probably give them a B. I mean, like early on in the year, they struggled, but they came on late in the year, and they started showing flashes of really good playmaking ability, and that D-line started to dominate again. So overall, I give the defense a B.
See, it's so hard for the defense because the biggest thing for me is situational football, and for the first probably 14 weeks of the season, they had zero situational football. They couldn't get off the field on third down.
Yes.
Especially the long third down. Whenever we would score, the opposing offense would come right down the field and score. Our 2-minute defense was hideous all season. Like, even in the playoffs, awful. The fact that we're going down the field thinking we can squeak 3 points, we go 3 and out, and that our defense, which would be great or very good for the first 2 quarters, in the final 2 minutes of the first half, they would go down the field and either get quick 7 or get a quick 3. And it's like, oh my God, that's a 10-point swing.
Yeah.
And for the most part, given how close a lot of our losses were, those situations really killed us.
Yeah.
But they played great at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2 C+. C+ on the offense, C+ on the defense. And I'm sure people were saying, well, Ryan, how can you give C+ for both and they made the playoffs? Because they really overachieved at the end of the year. And I think coaching, for the most part, was an A.
Yeah.
Or at least a B+.
Yeah. That's what I'll put them over the top. I agree. And it's look at the record they ended up with, 9-7. That's a game over 500. So giving them a C+ on both sides. I mean, I give the defense a B. I say overall they played better than the offense, but they were far from perfect. So we will touch on that again. We'll get into player grades. We will still get into a little bit of Super Bowl preview, and something that I put together, and I want to get feedback from you guys, is ranking the Super Bowls since the year 2000. All the Super Bowls since the year 2000, how would you rank top 5, top 10? I got my whole ranking for all of them because, I'm a nerd. But I'll be very excited to go over that with you. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think was the most entertaining? What were your memories? Which one stood out to you the most? Because, it's Super Bowl week, and even though the Birds aren't in it, there's still a game to be played, and it's still the big one. So we will talk about that. On the other side, if you are on Facebook still, click the link at the top.
Yeah, a lot of the fam has already done it. But if they're still floating on Facebook, head over to the second half of the show.
All right, and we will join you. Our first half is brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, our certified public accountant. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com. And by Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC. Find them in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. We will be back in give us 5-10 minutes as usual.
Yeah.
We will be back. Again, we have a lot to talk about. Player grades still, Super Bowl talk, Super Bowl ranks, and, of course, no huddle. Do not go anywhere. I promise you we'll be right back. We will see you in a few. What up? We're back. Like I said, real quick, it's only one of me, so the break wasn't that bad. It wasn't that long.
I don't leave the chair.
Second half brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, GibsonMayer.com, and by Specialized Physical Therapy LLC, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. See, I'm getting better at doing that stuff. Like, it's coming off faster, but I still stumble. Like, I still
It's all
stumble
right.
a little
Listen.
bit. But hey, it's a work in progress.
Yes.
Yes. Eventually, I think in about like a month, after a few more times being by myself and having to do this, I think
You should just tell Chrome when he comes back, like, hey, I'm doing the reads. They're mine.
I need to practice. No, but I like Chrome being able to do them because he's probably more articulate than I am.
Oh, it's much easier. Like when I'm like doing, like it's very rare that I'm doing this, but like I don't have to host a show, but I'm on.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I don't have to read
don't have to
all of it.
Exactly.
I could just sit here.
Exactly.
So great.
Exactly. Our poll question brought to you by Scanzano Sports is, which Eagles player was the biggest surprise in 2018? Wendell Smallwood, Jordan Matthews, Avonte Maddox, Crevan LeBlanc, anyone else? For positive or negative, who else was a surprise? We were going to use that as a segue into player grades. We never got to it because of the chat is so awesome.
So
we got
much
on
discussion.
tangents, so much discussion,
it.
which is good considering the Eagles season has been over for like 2 weeks. But it's good that we still got talk going. We appreciate you guys. But let's get into player grades real quick before we talk about Super Bowl, because I do want to hand out some grades to some players that we want to highlight and talk about. And we talked about a bunch of players on both sides of the ball in the first half. So let's give some grades out to them. So I'm going to start off on, let's do offense first, because before break we gave out overall offensive defensive grades for the whole units. Offense, I gave them a C+ for the whole year. But individually, let's start off with the guy who is going to go into next year as a starter, as is no surprise, Carson Wentz. His 11-game stretch, it's not as bad as some people out there make it out to be, but it wasn't 2017-esque as we saw. It wasn't MVP level Carson Wentz, because we've seen him make a bunch of mistakes, and he wasn't the same Carson Wentz not being fully healthy in a different offense. So if I'm going to give him a grade, I'm going to give him a grade of probably a B- or a B. Probably be where I'd have him. The numbers don't show a guy who struggled. Again, the numbers actually are pretty impressive, but once you get deeper into the heart of it, there were definitely several things that were wrong with his game that he needs to still clean up and work on. I've been saying that for all season long. I don't make excuses for Wentz.
No.
I'm pretty sure you've been with us every week. There have been games during the season where I let him have it. Like after that Panthers game where he missed the pass in the flat to Smallwood, I was on here blasting Carson Wentz, saying you have to make that read. And I'm going to stick to it. There are flaws in Wentz's game in 2018 that were definitely there. And I can't give him a pass just because he was hurt. There were definitely other reasons why the team was not successful. It's not all on him, but he was definitely far from perfect.
So for anybody at home because I'm right on the fence, I'm between C+ and B-.
Uh-huh.
And it's tough, and I would probably lean towards B- because of this. If I were to name or just go over these stats and just say player A, and I would say player A played 11 games this year, had just above 3,000 yards, 3,074 yards, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he had 7 out of the 11 games with a quarterback rating above 100. And one of them being 99.5, so it's right there to make it 8. Would you really say, oh, that's a bad season? No. But you also have to put in situationally. Did he go on any game-winning drives? No. Did he have a lot of mistakes late? Sure. Did he have a lot of mistakes in the first couple drives to set the tone for the game? Yes. Mm-hmm. We also understand that if we compare those stats and put it on the pace, it's up there with an average Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers season. We look at what he didn't have around him, running game, non-existent, offensive line. When he was hurt, they were the most hurt. And the wide receivers, well, we came back to a team with Shelton Gibson and DeAndre Carter, and there's a couple other guys. I can't even remember the name. So For the first couple games where he was getting his bearings, they didn't have a wide receiving core, didn't have a running game, didn't have an offensive line. And then over time, when people started to return, the offense had no identity. And he continued to get more hurt as the season progressed. So because of that, with all that being considered, I would go B- to a B.
Yeah. So same grade as me.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's fair. Mike, whatever, Mike Cav, or we're going to call him Mike, he says Maddox and LeBlanc, I'm guessing for his
Most
surprising players. And
Yeah.
it says Wentz will come back swinging.
Absolutely.
He had nothing to work with.
Nope.
Wentz's numbers were better this year while hurt than last year.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why, they were good. So it's not like he was horrible. But as I always say, and I say it repeatedly on this show, I'm the type of person who always looks beyond just the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to be fair here. His season, it's not as bad as some make it out to be, but it's not as good as the numbers make it out to be.
Again, it goes back to when we were talking about Sidney Jones. Expectations can be a curse. 99% of the fan base after we won the Super Bowl, and I was one of them. So don't think I'm.
One.
So we were both of them. So don't think people at home that we're taking shots at you guys, because we're in this group that thought Carson Wentz will rise from the ashes and he'll be twice the player he is when he really didn't have a leg and he came back too soon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Expectations are a curse sometimes.
And I think we had those expectations because we see Carson as, and no matter what anyone's going to say, we do really see Carson as the savior still. You know what I mean?
Yes, he's a god to us.
He's the guy that he is potentially could be the greatest quarterback in franchise history.
Yeah.
He is the first one to come along who has a ceiling higher than anyone that's ever played on this team. Like, he can be a transcendent generational type of talent.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who is in the top 2, top 3, maybe the best quarterback in the league for the next generation or so.
Yep.
We haven't had that type of quarterback here.
No.
You can talk about Donovan McNabb all you want. He was never in the top 5 quarterbacks. Okay, maybe 5. Maybe he was, but he was never considered the best quarterback in the league at that time.
And he was an overachiever as well.
Yes.
That you will never, as great as Wentz will be, it's impossible for him to be labeled as an overachiever. If anything, like this year, it was labeled as underachieving.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because we all know, football fans, Eagles fans, sports fans alike, we know how talented and how great Wentz is and can be.
Yeah.
So because of that, I believe the bar was set so high because, number one, he was going to be the MVP. Number two, it was only in his second season.
Yeah.
And 3, because we know the kind of guy he's going to be if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
He's the whole package. And this is what we talked about last week when we were slamming that article is we believe so much in Wentz because not only because of his talents, but because of the kind of guy he is. Intangible-wise. Like, I talk about it all the time. When he got hurt, as soon as he was done with the surgery, he was back at the facility, first in, last out, watching tape, helping Foles, helping the team. He's constantly working. Constantly. Even if he's on the sideline, he's doing tape study. He's constantly studying. He is a competitor. Like, he wants to win above anything. And as a competitor, he's going to come off as stubborn. He's going to come off as pushy. Like, he wants it. He wants the offense to be run how he thinks is best. But all the great ones, as I said last week, all the great ones have that quality. Tom Brady gets into arguments with Josh McDaniels all the time. He wants it his way.
He shipped out Garoppolo.
Yeah, he shipped
him out.
He shipped him out of there. Peyton Manning. He ran the offense his entire career with Colts and the Broncos. Forget whoever was the offensive coordinator. Can you remember who the offensive coordinator for any of the Peyton Manning teams were? No, because he was the offensive coordinator. He was running the offense. He was the offense because of his mind. It was so good. He was so smart. Aaron Rodgers, he makes that offense. All these great ones. He's difficult to work with too.
Yes.
They want it their way, but the front office, Howie Roseman, Joe Douglas, Joe Douglas was there the year after. Doug Peterson, they knew they were getting him. They knew what they were getting when they drafted him. That's why they took him, because of that competitive nature.
Well, I point to, when we put it, if you guys didn't hear it, it's on the A2D social medias. It actually got a lot of traction on Twitter, too. The Frank Reich comments about Carson Wentz.
Oh, that was blown. That was, yes.
He didn't have to make those comments.
He didn't have to.
What is he, ladies and gentlemen, if you think at home and you're listening to, he's of course going to, why is Frank Reich going to stick up for Carson Wentz? Because he used to work with him? Listen,
he has nothing to
ask
gain.
yourself this question, ladies and gentlemen. Any former coworkers that you work with, would you go above and beyond to say how great they are? No, because what does he gain from that? He has a star quarterback.
Yeah.
He has Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
He went to the playoffs. He just left that team. He gains nothing from going out of his way, which he did, to go. I mean, he talked for 5 minutes about Wentz.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do that. He was asked the question, but he could say, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of ways he could have avoided it, but he went out of his way, like everyone has for the most part, to say, Wentz is nothing like that article portrays him to be.
Exactly. So I just wanted to touch on that because I know you weren't here last week. So
no, I appreciate
that's who he is. That's who he is. That's how Wentz is. And I think that's the expectations are what they are. Now, they will be high again next year.
Ooh.
And he has to stay healthy. He absolutely has to stay healthy. I will be fair about that. He has to stay healthy. Because if he's not healthy again, that's an issue.
Oh, listen, if he gets hurt,
that's an issue.
Bill on YouTube asks this. He says, okay, if he comes out next year and plays okay, the team winds up 9-7 and miss the playoffs, do we blame the team? Use his injury excuse again? How does that affect his contract? Well, I mean, I'm not going to call it a bad question, but there's so many things to go into
that. Yeah.
Now, I'll change it a little bit, Bill. If you say, he comes out next year and he starts out, let's say, for example, 2-5, and he gets hurt again, does that put a question into his future? And Chucks and I would both probably say yes. Listen, if he gets hurt again and there's a serious question on, he's gonna get shut down for the rest of the year. Absolutely. I'm opening shows this time next year thinking, okay, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah, because now you absolutely have an issue. And you have an issue with that. And not totally understandable.
Not to make this the Carson Wentz show, because we have a lot of other stuff to talk about. But the other thing that I've been seeing for the last handful of months, I forgot to bring it up last week. It's a misconception going around the city, the fan base, and the media about this Wentz injury. From Dallas week to now, people are comparing that injury to his injury in 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not even close. In 2017, when he snapped his leg in 2 spots, and it was a few different injuries, you don't have a choice. Like, you're not putting him on the field. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's no maybe we'll put him back, we'll dress him. It's like, no, he doesn't have a leg, so we're gonna see him in 9-10 months.
Yeah.
This injury was optional. It was a shutdown. It's, for all of you baseball fans, it's what they did with Strasburg. Remember years ago when they finally were good, they made the playoffs? We're going to shut them down. It was optional. And listen, I wasn't in the room, you weren't, but we all kind of get the vibe that they shut him down because the chances of continuing that season and being relevant and making the playoffs was slim to none.
And they weren't worth him further injury. Yeah.
Matthew Stafford played with that same injury for 75% of the season. Did he go down? No. Because why would you? Are you building to the future? Are you worried about playoffs? No, that's not Matthew Stafford. He just came off of the big money contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's an optional injury, and it was a decision by the team. If it was not an optional injury, why didn't they put him on IR?
Exactly.
Why did they have him on the active roster still?
Mm-hmm.
Why was it a question heading into New Orleans the final week of our playoff stint if he was going to be dressing?
Yeah.
Guys, I understand banged up is not good to be a quarterback, but don't compare it to what he did in 2017.
Yeah.
Because if we needed him, he would have played.
He probably would have played.
And this wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
But because our team and organization is smart and looking to the future, we had to shut him down. And I'm glad about that.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. So that's that about Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
We will always be objective. I cannot speak for anyone else, You know, I know there are always for weeks now there are two sides of it of either you're a full truther or a Wentz truther. I believe myself as being fair and objective. I'm in the middle. I love both. I'm real about who both are.
We're Eagles guys.
So we're Eagles guys. And so it is what it is. Moving on to the running back, I think the only one we can fairly give a grade to because he was the only one healthy is Wendell Smallwood. So
can we throw Corey in there?
Okay, let's go throw Corey. So Wendell, we talked about what he's done. So that is what it is. The grade I'll give him is I'll probably give him a B minus.
I'll go B plus, just based off of expectations.
Okay.
He didn't fumble the ball in a crucial game. It was either they put him in and he played well, or they didn't go to him that game.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. They didn't sit him. They didn't do a Josh Adams to him.
Yeah.
Like they benched Josh Adams.
Yeah, they benched him.
It was okay. If Wendell didn't have a very good game, he didn't have a game at all because it didn't fit. They went to Darren or Corey or somebody else. Like that's just that's what his season was.
Exactly. So let's go to Corey. I'm gonna let you go first on Corey. What grade would you give him?
Well, you know I'm a Corey guy.
Yes.
I mean that's D minus.
Listen,
okay, listen.
I love it.
Listen.
Because you know what? I'll just say it right now. I give him the same grade.
And
I
Corey
give him the
would too.
same
Listen,
grade.
I know the type of guy Corey is. He would say the same thing. If he's sitting next to me and I say that to him, he's like, I agree, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So because of that, he knows he didn't deliver.
Yeah.
He knows he didn't improve, and I get it. Ryan, he was an undrafted free agent. You have to be.
No.
Was he an undrafted free agent in that Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen? No.
No.
Did he stay healthy? No. Did he make adjustments behind the line? No.
Nothing. There was no. Now to what I said earlier in the show, progression is not linear, and that is I stick by that. I am not giving up on Corey Clement.
No.
I am not giving up on Corey Clement, but by God, I'm going to be fair to how his performance was in 2018, and in 2018 we saw a Corey that did not improve at all anywhere. And what is my number one knock on Corey is he is so impatient behind the line. So impatient. And he doesn't he doesn't break tackles. He doesn't force any missed tackles. He has no elusiveness. He doesn't have the strength to fight through contact and break tackles that way. He doesn't offer anything like that on when it comes to that. And that's a trait that separates great running backs from just average ones, is when they're in space and they're one-on-one with a defender, they can make a defender miss consistently. Corey does not do that. Corey didn't do that. He's going to have to prove he can do that if he wants a bigger role. And what made me mad was that report that his parents were saying that they and Corey were very upset he wasn't getting more touches. And this was following the trade rumors where the Eagles were going to trade for a running back, and he went to Howie and said, you don't need to. Well, then Howie said, prove it. Corey didn't prove it. No. He didn't show me anything he didn't show me any improvements. So, a lot of people get on me for being very harsh on Corey, but as someone who loves the running back position, I'm going to call it as I see it. And Corey might have been great in the Super Bowl and in spots in 2017, but I'm not going to let that fly in any season after that. He has to produce. If he is going to be who everyone wants him to be, who a lot of this fan base thinks he is, he's going to have to do better than that. So I give him a D. D minus. Go ahead. Sweepsies!
Yes. If people could hear the chuckle behind the screen, I'm reading Sweeps. So Sweeps chimes in. Good to hear from you, Sweeps.
What up?
He says, 2 of my favorite cats, what's up?
What up?
He puts about 100 P's in up. He says, Wendell Smallwood to me, obviously, to answering, I guess, the poll question.
Surprising. Okay, yeah.
He says, Bird struggling in the running game, but I think Smallwood ran hard all year, took advantage of every opportunity he was given. Completely agree, Sweeps. Absolutely. And then he says, by the way, put the 1s and 2s. I guess he's saying, and get your mug on camera, bro. Let's go. You're big time. Can't hide Brodo. And then he says, put the 1s and 2s on autopilot, Sweeps, I do the disservice to this company of going on camera once a week. Listen, man, I've said it for years. For the 4 years I've been here, I am a radio guy. If I could slide behind this.
Your mug is
board.
better than my own mug, my fat ass mug on the TV. The camera adds 10 pounds. It would make it seem like there were 50 cameras behind here.
I could use 10 pounds on the camera truck. I could use it. I wish. But
love
thank
you,
Sweeps.
Sweeps. Love you, Sweeps.
I'm sure you'll have more coming.
Yeah. Thank you.
A good compliment every once in a while, Sweeps. I appreciate it.
Sweeps chiming in is a highlight of every show.
By the way, Sweeps, I'm working on a new intro for you.
Yes.
I have something in the works.
Yes. Love it. Love it. I will love to hear that new intro. Anyways, moving on. Let's go to wide receivers real quick. Alshon, I'm gonna say Alshon. I'm gonna give him a B+. We'll give Alshon B+.
We caught that last one.
I know.
No, it's B+. It's B+.
Yeah, I think he was. I know there were times when he struggled during this, not struggled. He disappeared at times in the middle of the season, but overall, I think he showed that when he's healthy, he is a wide receiver 1 in this league.
Yeah, and listen, and I know you know this, but people, I wouldn't use the word disappeared, and you know what I'm talking about, because when he's thrown to, that's the only thing he can do. You know what I mean? Like, he's not throwing to himself.
Yeah.
So with Foles, played well.
Yeah.
With Wentz at times, played well. Other times, just didn't fit into the offense. But again, people are going to blame Wentz.
Yeah.
I blame the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Because it's that core wide receiver that did not have an identity all year.
Exactly.
But when he was thrown to, listen, he dropped 2 balls all year.
Yeah.
So really,
I can't be mad. I know the last one is what's going to be spotlighted because it's.
But that keeps me from I mean, if he catches that, it's an A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not hating on the guy. Like, oh my God, you're crushing Alshon.
Oh, I love. Yeah, we will love Alshon here. Nelson, I will give him probably give him a C+. Nelson, I might be a little harsh, but it's just beginning of the year when he was the only guy there, I think if he was going to show that he could be the next level type of receiver, that was the time to do it, and he didn't. So as for me, I think I'm harsh on him because, like you said, expectations. I was a big Nelson, and I still am, but I was the one who was saying that Nelson can take a big step and he can actually be the wide receiver 1 in this team. That never came into fruition, so I give him a C+. But again, like I said in the first half of the show, in no way am I saying he will be traded. I love Nelson Aguilar and his game. I think with a healthy Wentz, he will have another bounce back year.
See, it's so hard for me to grade wide receivers because I can only grade. Like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, he didn't have the impact that he did last year. But again, I go back to this Alshon thing. It's tough for me to criticize a guy for not getting the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, on the surface, yes. He was a shadow or a shell of himself as opposed to what he was last year. Absolutely. But again, like we talked about at length in the first half, it's a product of the system again.
Yeah.
So when I value and when I grade wide receivers, I grade, okay, when they get the ball, what do they do? How many drops do they have? How many big plays do they have? How many touchdowns? And for the most part, listen, the guy didn't have a lot of drop passes. Didn't have any fumbles.
Nope.
When he was using the backfield as kind of that, intricate type of running back, he did well. Deep shots when he was thrown to, he did well.
Yeah. He didn't drop any deep shots. Any catchable ball that was thrown at him deep, he caught. That one against the Cowboys late in the Cowboys game, the second one. You remember with Carson Wentz in Dallas?
No.
The game-tying drive?
I've erased that game from my memory.
Oh, gosh. But
I honestly don't remember that.
That was on the sideline at the 2-yard line. That was
pretty. Now I remember.
That was pretty. That might have been his best catch all year.
Yeah,
that was pretty.
And I just look at it, like, listen, it's, again, it's going to be the story for a lot of these guys. It's borderline C+, B-. And that's just the way the season went.
How it went, yeah. Zach Ertz, I don't think there's any question to give him A+. Dallas Goedert, considering his rookie year and what he's done, A-. I would give Dallas Goedert A-.
Agreed.
Just so excited for those two. That's why I don't want to change it. I'm so excited
Just
for
give
those
me
two.
1 year of it, then we could talk trades.
Yeah.
Give me 2 years of Dallas,
Yeah.
then I'll ship away friggin'
Yeah.
Zach Ertz for a fourth.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Don't type crazy in the chat.
So to finish off the offense, like, along the offensive line, Jason Peters, I'm going to give a B-.
Agreed.
Left guard, let's go Isaac first, and I'm going to say B+. With expectations, the fact that he came out and he showed that he improved, and he wasn't a liability. So
True.
that's the curve I'm giving you on. If you're just talking about overall grade, I'll give him like a C+.
Agreed.
Jason Kelsey, I'm going to still give him a B+/A-.
Listen, he's one of the best, if not the best center in the league.
Yeah.
He's very frustrating at times. I get it, but
Yeah.
listen, the guy is Jason Kelsey. Remember the guy that we wanted to ship out 2 years ago?
Yeah,
Listen, he's way better.
No, he's way better. Brandon Brooks, A. I don't think you can not give him an A.
No, he's an A+.
You're giving
A+.
him A+. Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
Absolutely.
A+.
He didn't give up a sack all year.
Yeah. Lane Johnson, A-, and he struggled early in the year, but I think
He's hurt. He's playing hurt.
Yeah, but I think after a few games he settled in, and he absolutely was the Lane Johnson of old. So because of that, I boost him up to an A-.
Agreed.
Yeah. So again, our offense as a whole, we graded it out to a C+. I gave him C+.
Yeah, again, like I talked about for individual players, for a majority, except for the offensive line, which we give more higher Bs to lower As, it's around that B-, C+ range, which is kind of what this offense has been.
Was, yeah.
And I know we're negating guys like JJ, certain guys that just weren't
They
around.
weren't around for
You know
as
what I
long
mean?
as you could.
So
Yeah.
when you don't have those, that's what lowers
Exactly.
the B- minuses to lower, but that's just the way it happens.
So defensive line. Oh, this is going to be good. Michael Bennett deserves an A+.
A+.
A++. Fletcher Cox deserves an A.
Yep.
He I think those are givens. Defensive tackle, there's no one really else you can really talk about because Timmy Jernigan came back late. Can't really give him a whole season grade.
Yeah,
Anyone else? Brandon Graham, I'm going to give him
a B- for
B-,
me.
B, somewhere around there. He came on late, like we said earlier.
Disappointing first 7 games, great second half.
Chris Long, I'm going to give him probably around the same grade.
Same thing as Brandon Graham. Disappointing first 10 games, great second half.
What I will make an exception for is this next player, and that's Derek Barnett. I want to grade him even though he didn't play for most of the season. And based on what I said about him in the preseason, how his name was being mentioned, I'm going to give him an A- because of how well he produced in his second year.
Yeah.
And he showed growth. That's what I wanted to see is growth. He still has work to do as a pure pass rusher, but in the run game, he makes me have faith that losing Brandon Graham isn't going to be so bad because he can step right in and be that run-stopping defensive end / edge guy that Brandon Graham was. I loved Barnett and how he played in the run game. And situationally clutch, he was absolutely clutch. He sealed the game against the Colts in Week 3.
Yeah.
So I give him, based on what I was saying about him and his growth in the second year, I give him an A-.
Listen, man, I really like him. Coming from a guy who, going back to that 2016-2017 draft, coming from somebody who wanted two, I was going all in for 2 guys. I was going to trade up for one, and the other guy I was praying that would get to us. I wanted Christian McCaffrey. I wanted to trade up to get him, and I wanted O.J. Howard. Those are the 2 guys. And when we didn't get him, when we heard Derek Barnett, I was like, well, okay.
I don't hate the player.
No, I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a reaction.
Yeah.
I really like him, and I think he can be really special. It's just all about now staying healthy.
Yeah, you got to stay healthy. We're going to need him to be. That's the truth. He needs to be healthy and be good. Jordan Hicks, I'm going to give a B. Nigel Bradham, I'm probably going to give the same thing.
See, I struggled to give Jordan a B because did he have any standout games?
No, but I would say that he was consistently
injured.
Consistent. Like he wasn't. I felt like every game he played in, maybe like not one, maybe 1 or 2 games he wasn't, but for the most part, when he was healthy and he played in a game, you could rely on him being good. Like he wasn't outstanding. He didn't have his pivotal we know him as being a playmaker, someone who comes up with turnovers, stuff like that. He didn't really have many this year. And have those type of plays, so he didn't really stand out the way we're used to him standing out. But I can't say he played horrible. He was consistently just good. But again, he got hurt again for those first few games. For those certain, not first few games, for those certain amount of games. So it is what it is. That's why I still give him a B, because he was good when he was in there.
Just found something very interesting, Chucks.
What's up?
Bleacher Report just came out with a list of breakout players for each team in 2019.
Yeah.
Guess who they listed as the Eagles? Who they believe will be the breakout player for the Eagles? I just love how things just work out for our conversation.
Derek Barnett.
No, that would have been too good.
Josh Adams.
Nope. Who'd we talk about for like 25 minutes at the first half?
In the first
very
half.
beginning.
Who did we? Wendell Smallwood? No. Oh,
Sidney Jones.
Oh, Sidney Jones. Okay.
There's a long write-up on him. I'm not gonna read the novel, but that's very interesting. So there you go. You have Bleacher Report that believes
Sidney Jones
he's going to be very good.
Because the thing about it, again, one quick thing. This year was technically his rookie year, so I mean he's going into his technical second. It was
the Ben Simmons rookie year.
Yeah. So that's what I give to the linebackers. I don't know what you would give to the linebackers.
No, I mean the reason why, and maybe I'm higher on Jordan Hicks, or at least my expectations were higher at the beginning of the year. But I've said numerous times, I believe Nigel Bradham somehow plays better on the field when Jordan Hicks isn't there. I just believe he has more control of the defense. I just look at it as Jordan Hicks is one of these guys, along with Malcolm, that are labeled as the leaders of the defense. And I believe if you're going to truly be a leader, number one, you need to be more consistent on the field. And two, you need to have more spotlight games.
Yeah.
So, listen, am I being hard on him? Probably, but it shows how great of a player I think he can be.
I understand. I completely get it. Secondary is going to be fun. So let's because we've already kind of talked about it, but I'm going to start off with Avonte Maddox.
You name it and I'll just go agree or disagree.
Avonte Maddox, I'm going to give him an A.
Yes, agree.
Okay. Rasul Douglas, and I'm going in reverse order from late to beginning of the season.
Okay.
Rasul Douglas, I'm going to give him a B+.
Agree. Future safety.
Yeah, I think he's a future safety too. Creval LeBlanc, I'm going to give him a B+.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Who's next after that? Ronald Darby, I'm going to give him a B. Down?
Not way down.
I think he was inconsistent.
C-.
Inconsistent, got hurt, but I think that he showed his flashes, but he's so inconsistent.
I'm sorry, I'm just not a. You can call me a Ronald Darby hater. I'm just not that. I'm just not a Ronald Darby guy.
That's fine. Jalen Mills, I'm going to give him a C-.
And for Tom, I'll give him C+.
Oh, he's gonna come storming back.
I know. I'm like, someone comes after you. So I'm like, I'm already stuck over here.
Sidney Jones, I'm going to give. Be fair, I'm gonna give him a C.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as Jalen for me.
Yeah, let's see. Malcolm Jenkins, I'm gonna give him an A.
A+. Played every snap.
Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, so I think A+.
He had a lot of stuff he was dealing with off the field with the political nonsense.
Yes, yeah.
So he had quote unquote distractions, and it didn't let him stop him.
I guess we have to grade the other safety, Corey Graham. I guess we have to. I'm just gonna give him a D.
Are we allowed to put Fs?
You can. You want to give him an F? For that 4th and 16 alone, okay, I'll give him an F. Because now I'm just thinking about it again, that 4th and 16, I'll never forget.
Freaking Graham.
Yeah, freaking Corey Graham. Jake Elliott, I'm going to give him an A-. He has his, and this is, oh my God, did I get heated over this?
A kicker?
ATD posted of the keep or let go of Jake Elliott, and we had people on ATD saying let go. Are you kidding me?
Well, what I would have done if I would have seen that, I would have just commented the same thing for everyone, just saying Cody Parkey, and just left. That's what I would have commented if anyone said let go.
Listen, name me 1 or 2 kickers in the league that doesn't miss extra points. Every kicker misses extra points.
Listen,
I think Justin Tucker, Justin freaking Tucker missed an extra point late in the season. A game tying, huh?
Will Lutz against the Eagles. No, but
he did miss a field goal.
And he's like one of the best kickers in the league.
Every kicker has their issue with extra points. So stop with the he misses extra points. I don't care. Jake Elliott has not missed a clutch kick. Okay, yeah, I
I'm
just
not gonna,
jinxed
yeah.
it. Yeah.
No, I'm like, no, don't hear me. Don't go back to this.
I want my kicker to make clutch kicks. That's why he's there. And Jake Elliott makes clutch kicks. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. So Jake Elliott, A.
I might glue my hands to this table. I might glue my hands. No, I agree. Listen, we didn't lose a game because of him. He didn't miss a game-tying or game-winning field goal. Does he have his little twitches in games? Yeah. Does it piss me off that late in games when we need him to kick it out of the end zone, he kicks it to the freaking 10? Yeah, I'm like, Jake, kick it! Kick it! And he always looks like he's hurt. It always looks like he's going through a groin injury the way he kicks sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, but listen, we could have Cody Parkey.
Yeah, you want Cody Parkey again?
You know what I mean?
You want Caleb Sturgis? You see how he fell off?
Listen, Adam Vinatieri had a putrid game in the playoffs.
Yes, he did. Every kicker misses extra points. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. I saw people say, when I saw the post, I was like, oh, this is an easy one.
This
This
is the
is
easiest
keep.
question
And
of the
then
year.
I saw people say let go. I'm like, are you serious? You're going to say let go to Jake Elliott?
Listen, everyone
me a
has to be
break.
different.
Give me a
Everyone has
freaking
to
break.
be different.
Cameron Johnson, the punter, I'm going to give him an A. He didn't miss a beat. What do you? No, I'm a punter. I'm going to give him
I'll give him an A plus because
all right, sounds-
he's
he was good.
Australian.
Okay, sounds good. He was good as a punter.
No,
He didn't miss a beat. He
listen.
had. I think there was that one game where he punted the ball lights out.
He was the best guy on the field during all those 3 and outs. Well, a lot of them. Got to see a lot of them. Too
A
much
lot
of
of
them. A guy that I never want to see on the field
Yeah.
because I want to see touchdowns. He was splendid.
Exactly, he was. Mike does say doink.
That's right, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want doink.
And he also put Jenkins A++++. He put about 100 pluses.
Yes. I know him and Bill Middlebrook have been going back and forth about Ajayi and Blunt. Let me just say, as a fan of Ajayi, I bought his jersey. I wore it during the playoffs. If you were to ask me, if it were up to me, I would not bring him back. Blunt, not bring him back. Neither of them. Go draft a guy.
He
Go
averaged
draft a guy.
3.1 yards a carry in Detroit. And I don't want to hear, oh, my God, Detroit is where running backs go to die. No, Carryon Johnson's pretty good.
Played well, so
He's
don't give me
good.
that. Don't give me that. Coaches, Doug Peterson, the way he finished, I think overall I have to give him an A. And Jim Schwartz, the way he finished, I have to boost him up to a B+.
A for Doug, B- for Schwartz, given what he had to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Grow D.
D. Okay, I want to argue with that. I think we're pretty much in agreement. Those are our player grades. If you guys who are listening still, you have your own player grades, just shoot them out there. But I do want to preview this Super Bowl, this upcoming game. It is the big game. Eagles aren't in it. I get it. But I still, it's so funny because I look back and I think, the Super Bowl before last year, it was still such a huge thing.
Special.
It was so special. Even with the Eagles not in it, I was like, oh, it's Super Bowl. But this year, the fact that the Eagles aren't in it and, they're not going to be the defending Super Bowl champs anymore, it's like a different perspective because you're just like, damn, it's the Super Bowl now. But, I'm trying to remind myself, geez, it's the damn Super Bowl. Come on. I know there are a lot of people that were saying, oh, I'm not going to watch it this year.
You're going to watch it.
Forget it. I'm not going to freaking...
Anyone who's saying they're not going to watch it, you're going to watch it.
I'm going to watch. Of course, it's the freaking Super Bowl. You never know if you're going to have a great game. The Ravens-Niners Super Bowl from a few years ago, which we'll get into when we do the rankings, that turned out to be a great game. So I just think that this matchup, a lot of people aren't giving the Rams much of a chance, and I get it. But let me remind you a few things. Last year, not many people outside of Philadelphia were giving the Eagles a chance.
Nope.
With Nick Foles and this Cinderella team going up against the dynasty that is the New England Patriots, not many people gave us a chance. They really didn't. So don't underestimate, again, the underdog. I think the Rams have the pieces in place to make it a very competitive game. Next thing I'll talk about, I don't think the Rams are going to get – it is Bill Belichick, the greatest coach ever. I get it. But I don't think they are severely mismatched in the coaching department, as some people make it out to be. One Sean McVay, I don't understand why some Eagles fans hate him so much. I guess it's because, he won Coach of the Year last year over Doug Peterson when Doug Peterson should have won it. But that's not McVay's fault. McVay has never done anything ill towards Philadelphia. So I love McVay. I think he's a great coach. He is going to. I would be surprised if he didn't have a great offensive game plan going into here. Wade Phillips, if you look at his track record against Bill Belichick in the playoffs, it's been very good. So as a defense, I think you'll have this Rams defense ready to play. And this Rams defense has pieces. They have pieces starting with the best defensive player in the game, arguably the best player hands down in the game if you take out positional value in Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, I think, in that middle, going against the middle of that Patriots O-line, still is going to have a great game. And they got the corners, they got the secondary. Now, Roby Coleman's got to make sure he doesn't commit these pass interference penalties. But beyond that, I think they have the pieces to still be to hold this Patriots, give this Patriots offense with the right scheme fits. Okay, so I think they have those pieces. To me, the X factor in this game is absolutely Todd Gurley. On either team, the number one X factor is Todd Gurley. If you can say, there are a lot of people saying different things. He wasn't healthy for these two playoff games, which I can see. People have been saying that he was healthy for the Saints game. It's just that early on he had those two really bad drops. So the coaches decided to go with C.J. Anderson. I don't know how much weight I put into that because it's Todd freaking Gurley. But if that was the case, maybe he is healthy. But what I will say is, if we get 90% Todd Gurley, the Todd Gurley we saw that in the regular season, who was absolutely dominating every single defense that he came across. If we get that Todd Gurley, the Rams have a good chance of coming out victorious in this game. If the Rams get that Todd Gurley, I will say it again, if he shows up in the Super Bowl, the Rams have a good chance of beating the New England Patriots. And why? Because the Patriots are going to try to they're a running team now. They're not a passing team. They are a running team. They want to control the clock. So what is the one way to make sure they don't control the clock? You control the clock. You get Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson, and you run the ball down their throats, which they can do. The Patriots defense is not that great up the middle. They control the clock. You all of a sudden make the Patriots not be a running team. And I know that's not saying much because you're putting the ball in Tom Brady's hands. But if you control the clock, you make them pass a lot, all of a sudden, they have to realize that their receivers are Julian Edelman, which is a slot receiver, and Rob Gronkowski, and James White. They do their work in the middle of the field. They don't have any outside threats. So if you control the clock as the Rams and you make a defensive game plan where you clog the middle of the field, that is my formula to beat the Patriots this year in this Super Bowl. So if the Rams can do that, I definitely give them a chance to win. I'm not going to say they should be favored because that's still a lot to ask. You gotta hope that Todd Gurley is who he was, and maybe he's not. Maybe he's still banged up, but it's still a lot to ask. And even if the Rams do scheme it that way, where they clog the middle of the field, Bill Belichick can still find a way to win. So, because he's Bill Belichick. So, do I think the Patriots should be favored? Yes. But do I think it's going to be a blowout like everyone's saying? No. I still think the Rams have a good chance of coming away with this. They have the coaches. They have the personnel. I think it's going to be a good game.
I'm going to save my prediction for my show tomorrow, but I want to highlight one particular player of this game. I agree with a lot with what you're saying, but I want to highlight somebody you talked about, a running back, and it's not Todd Gurley. It's someone who I believe, because I'm watching them this playoff run, and obviously this is not the first time we've seen him, but I truly believe now seeing what he's done in consistent seasons, over and over again, I believe I found the most underrated player in the league, and it's James White. I believe a guy like James White always comes up in big game situations. Hell, like we talked about, he's one of the 3 go-to guys in this Patriots offense. He was the MVP of what? The Super Bowl in which he came back against when they came back against the Falcons. So a guy like that is very, very, very underrated to me. And I think he's going to be crucial in, like what we talked about, the Patriots might be forced to only go after a couple guys. Him, Sony Michel, and working Gronk into this, like we talked about. Edelman, he's a possession guy. Chris Hogan is Chris Hogan. It's tough to really ask these guys to rise above the occasion, especially in the Super Bowl. James White's done that before. I don't believe anyone that's saying, oh, it's going to be a blowout, the Patriots are going to win by 20. Oh, it's a blowout, the Rams are going to win by 20. Because let me just ask you this, ladies and gentlemen. Can you name any Patriots Super Bowl, whether they've won or lost, that hasn't been close?
No.
It's all been down to the wire, right?
Down the wire.
It's all come down to the final play.
That's a good point.
And these Patriots team in the past have either been a lot better, or actually, yes, a lot better, because you could argue this is probably the worst Patriots Super Bowl team. Listen, I did not believe they would get back here. That was my bold prediction of 2018.
That was mine too. I was with you 100%.
But at the end of the day, everyone that's hating on it, I understand. It's the Golden State Warriors syndrome. It's, oh, this again, what? And I also believe that everyone wants to be the first person to call the end of their dynasty. And every year, we're wrong. I have to respect it, especially as a Super Bowl, a fan of a Super Bowl championship team that will no longer be this time next week. I respect the hell out of what Brady continues to do with nothing around him.
Oh, yeah.
I continue to respect what Bill Belichick does when he doesn't have an overall flashy team around him.
He's the GOAT.
So because of that, I'm not going to say I'm rooting for either team because I'm not. Because I'm not a huge fan of that Rams team, and I'm obviously not a huge fan of the Patriots. But I have to say I respect the hell out of what the Patriots are doing this year.
Absolutely.
But don't worry, next year I'll go back to hating them.
No, I hear you.
But who do you believe? What do you think the score who do you believe is going to win?
I think it's going to be Patriots going to win. Come down to the wire as it usually does. I'm going to say 28-24. I don't know why that. I don't know why that popped into my head, but it's just I think that's what it's going to be 28-24. I think it's very interesting, and I made this point when they beat the Chiefs, or no, during the Patriots Chiefs game, that it's funny how there are some ignorant fans out there, and I will say ignorant fans out there who keep claiming, oh, don't draft a running back in the first round. You can replace any of them. What did Bill Belichick do in 2018 draft? He drafted Sony Michel at the end of the first round. Because this is the great thing about Bill Belichick. And I'm not the one who pointed this out. Phil Simms and Adam Lefkoe on the Simms and Lefkoe podcast, I'll give them the credit because they pointed this out, and it's a great point. You want to know why Bill Belichick is able to still win every single year and still be this dynasty? Is because he's ahead of the times. When everyone is going one way, he goes the other way. What is it right now? It's a passing league. Everyone's talking about quarterbacks and receivers and, the passing game. What is Bill Belichick doing? He's becoming a running team. He's done it before. He was the one to introduce 2 tight end sets. When everyone was talking about wide receivers, he went 2 tight ends with Aaron Hernandez and Robert Gronkowski. He is ahead of the game consistently. That's what makes him the GOAT. So I think to me as a running back fan, I think it's great that we're having 2 first-round running backs in the Super Bowl because no matter which team wins, there's going to be a first-round running back winning the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And this whole argument of there's no reason why you should draft a running back in the first round.
Silly.
That's out the bite.
Evolve with the times,
Evolve with
please.
the times. Okay? You need talent at the running back position. I don't care how you do it. You still need talent at the running back position.
Sweeps chimes in and he says, imagine TB12 is 3-5 in bowl games. Does that change the fact that he walks on water? No.
No. I think because it's not like the NBA.
Yeah, it's not LeBron. It's not a LeBron thing.
It's like because NBA it's a 7-game series and in football it's so much harder to even get there every season. And so like Tom Brady getting there it's great in itself, and the fact that he's going on 6 now. Like you can't argue that. Like you really can't.
He was called the greatest of all time after he beat the Seahawks.
It took me until he beat the Falcons to call him the
Which is
greatest of all
fair. Which is fair.
After that, I called him the greatest. of all
If anyone still believes that this, like, and listen, obviously it's better to win a Super Bowl than lose one, but if anyone still thinks like this is the difference between him being the greatest of all time and not, just remember, ladies and gentlemen, the journey to get somewhere matters as well.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Exactly. So reaching the Super Bowl is definitely reaching the Super Bowl and losing is still a better accomplishment than losing in the playoffs.
Listen,
earlier in the playoffs.
People can call this a hot take. I believe in it. I'm not just saying it for headlines or to get a reaction. I believe the Patriots and Tom Brady's win against the Kansas City Chiefs last week was more impressive than when they came back and beat the Falcons.
That's a hot take.
But you know why I say that now?
Why?
Because for the first half they played like garbage.
True.
The Patriots played great for 4 quarters and played great in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, the Chiefs came back and made it a game.
Yeah.
But they won that game because of how good they played, how good they prepped.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't call – listen, phenomenal comeback. If we want to grade games based off of 2 quarters, sure, the Falcons game is up there.
Yep.
But based off of 4 quarters, or in this case 4.5 quarters of football, that's up there, man.
Yeah,
that's up there.
So I'm gonna do this. Let's do this real quick. I still want to do it. So, I'm gonna do top 5 real quick, and you tell me what you think.
I'll just go agree or disagree.
Agree, disagree. Going back to the year 2000, and whoever's still listening again, definitely chime in. But going back to the year 2000, how would you rank the Super Bowls? I ranked all of them, but I'm just gonna cover my top 5. All right, and this was pretty difficult once I got to like, I think around like 12 or something. But there were a lot of good Super Bowls since then. Like a good chunk of, I got inspiration from this from Elliot Harrison, who did the ranking all 52 Super Bowls. So he did it for NFL.com, and I was like, let me rank my one since 2000.
Keep talking.
So I got inspiration from that, and a good chunk of his top-rated Super Bowls were beyond to the year 2000. So what I have as 1 to 5. So I'm going to start at number 5. At number 5, I have the Super Bowl. What is this? 42. Giants 17, Patriots 14. This is the 18-0 Patriots versus the wild card.
So this is 2007.
2007. This is that Super Bowl.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah. I put that at number 5. A lot of people put it higher because of the stakes of the undefeated Patriots team. But when I was doing my rankings, I weighed more on the game itself and how entertaining and dramatic it was. And when I'm watching it, it really wasn't that great of a game as a whole, but became great late.
It's historically great.
It's historically great, but the watching it and stuff, like, it doesn't have much rewatch value.
No,
but
the final 4 minutes.
The final 4 minutes is where you want to really watch, and those final 4 minutes were amazing.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, to show the impact of the game, it got an Eagles fan and myself to root for the Giants. Seriously, I rooted for it because we were watching something we never thought was possible because of how great that Patriot team was, and 2, Patriots never were beaten in the Super Bowl before.
Not here. Number 4, I have Super Bowl 43, the Steelers and the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Oh,
that has to
great
be up
one.
there.
I think if I remember correctly, the Steelers had gone out to a lead. The Cardinals came back. They even jumped out to a lead with Larry Fitzgerald. You remember Larry Fitzgerald, long reception and run?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. And then Santonio Holmes, his iconic
corner of
the end zone toe tap,
the two
catch.
top, and then the
and
like
let's not forget Ben Roethlisberger buying time to set up that pass. Great, like that Super Bowl was, to me, like that was great to watch in terms of you had like that Cardinals team, and they had just beaten the Eagles. And I was rooting against them and everything, but they were a hard team to root against because Larry Fitzgerald was a great wide receiver, and that Steelers team was a good team.
Remember, let's not forget about the moment right before the half.
Yeah. Was it Harrison, right? He ran it back 99 yards?
Big man went running.
Yes, he did. Oh, that was great.
No, I was rooting big time for the Cardinals, and
Yeah.
I was heartbroken again.
Yeah.
Freaking Steelers.
Number 3, and this might be surprising because some people might think I rank it too low, is Super Bowl 49? The Patriots and Seahawks.
Oh,
Of,
yeah, I mean, that
of
has to be.
Malcolm Butler.
By the way, real quick,
Yeah.
Sweep says, David Tyree, not exciting, Chucks, and he says, helmet catch, LOL, and then he put James Harrison, 99-yard, pick 6,
Yes.
talking about the
99-yard, yes.
crazy.
What was
Seahawks.
it? Oh, yeah. Seahawks, Patriots. This is where it was tough. The top 3 were tough to kind of like rank because all of them were great. But I put this at number 3. But this was one of the ones where it's just like the Butler interception was probably one of the most clutch plays, if not the most clutch play in Super Bowl history.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great. I mean, you can blast the play call all you want, and to me, it wasn't so much that they didn't run. Honestly, I didn't mind them not running. It was the type of passes they choose to go with. I've been saying this whole time they should have did a play action bootleg to fake the defense out, get Russell Wilson moving. If there's no one there, he just walks into the end zone, or he hits someone on the out in the end zone on the bootleg. But I thought that would have been a right call. But Butler's interception was absolutely phenomenal. But let's not forget the Patriots were coming back to take the lead in that game too, and then Russell Wilson and Seahawks Jermaine Curse's catch.
Yep.
Oh my gosh!
Well,
Everyone thought it was incomplete.
Well, it looked like, because if you go back to, obviously, when the Giants beat them twice, it always came down to a crazy catch in the fourth quarter. And
so everyone was like, oh my gosh.
God, this is the catch.
Yeah.
That means they're going to lose again. And
Yep.
obviously they did.
No, I hear you. And it was everyone thought the Seahawks were about to score. And
Well, Sweep says, beast mode 4 times, you're bowl champs. Absolutely. Just run them. Just keep going. Go to them, go to them,
I
go
don't
to them, go.
disagree with it. I don't disagree. I just think that the fact that when people crucify the fact that they went to a pass instead, I more so say, like, I can understand. I have more of a problem of the type of pass. That's all I'm saying. Do I have a problem with saying, oh, they should have run it? No, I don't have a problem saying they should have run it. But I don't think it's as much of a travesty that they passed it as much as it is, why are you calling a slant
Well, I was
on the
going to say,
1 yard line?
I guess to your point, you're saying if you're going to pass it there, it should be to the corner. It should be an out route to the corner.
It should be a play action,
Yeah.
not a slant.
Just to
at the one.
throw them off. I know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Listen, you and I, and we all pretty much know what they were thinking. They were overthinking. They're thinking, oh, they're expecting the run, so we're just gonna end it here.
Which I can understand, but that's why you call play action.
Yeah.
Don't a slant on the 1 yard line is not how you do it.
Nope.
So number 2, Super Bowl 52 is not number 2.
It's not your number one.
No, and I'm being fair.
Oh,
The fact that it's number 2, like Elliott Harrison, I think had it farther down out of all the ones, the recent ones. No, but he had it number 8, which is pretty high.
Are you an
still?
Eagles fan?
Yes, I'm an Eagles fan. But I'm talking about like.
I know. I'm
Get
busting your balls.
Get off, you're busting my balls. But I rank it number 2 because even though there wasn't much defense played outside of 2 plays, it was the underdog story of the Eagles.
Of course. Yep.
Going against the dynasty, and the fact that Nick Foles and that Eagles offense went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady and the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick. They went toe-to-toe, blow for blow. If you're talking about a heavyweight fight, you're talking about those Rocky movies where there's no defense. It's just punch after punch after punch. And the last one who was able to hit a blow was Brandon Graham in the defense with that strip sack. But it was like you have the memorable play call with the Philly special. You have so many different plays with the Patriots coming back. After each time the Eagles scored, the Patriots just would not give up. They ended up taking the lead. Like, you had the Malcolm Jenkins knocking out Brandon Cooks out of the game in the first quarter, I think. You have Bill Belichick's controversial decision to sit Malcolm Butler. Like, you have so many things that contributed.
Let's go back to the missed field goal.
To the missed field goal.
To me, that was the moment I thought, oh my God, it might be our night. Because, like, those things – to the Patriots, it would be a missed snap, and then a plant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then he would find a way to make it in.
Yeah.
Like it hit the bar.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, it's not working for them.
Rodney McLeod's suplex tackle.
Oh my God, we
Yeah.
memed the hell out of that.
Oh, that was great. So I think those it had so many great moments and such a great storyline. That's why I put it above the Seahawks one.
I'm fascinated
So-
to know what your number one is.
My number one, by far, not by far. Okay, take that back. Not by far, but very, very close. I could not give it to the Patriots Falcons game.
Okay.
I could
Yeah.
not. And a part of it is because this is the only Super Bowl game that went to overtime. And in my opinion,
Oh my God.
if there were ever any doubts of Tom Brady not being the greatest, this ended them. Like I've been someone who always felt that Peyton Manning was the greatest quarterback of all time. After this game, it had to be. I could not argue it anymore. It was Tom Brady by far. And you still had great moments in this game too. The Edelman catch that almost wasn't a catch. The Julio Jones catch that we thought sealed it, but then
Another
Matt
crazy
Ryan,
catch.
Matt Ryan went took a sack that put them out of field goal range. I mean, you have so many the improbability of the 28-3 deficit in the third quarter and the greatest once you saw the Patriots score that first touchdown and then force that fumble, it was like in your head it was like they're coming. Like that after that fumble, it's in my head is they're coming. And it's kind of like you could not expect them not to come back, but you wanted like I was rooting for the Falcons. I was rooting for the Falcons coming into that game. It started to be a blowout, but after I started to see the Patriots come back, I absolutely rooted for the Patriots because I wanted to see overtime game. So that's my number one. That's my top five.
I'll add an honorable mention real quick that I believe. I'm not saying it should be in the top five, but 49ers Ravens. I really like.
That was
really
my number
enjoyed.
6.
Gotcha.
That was number 6.
What do you got for no huddle?
No huddle. Just
4
one real
minutes
quick.
left. Yeah, 4 minutes left.
My one real quick is we had another like horrible Pro Bowl outing. I didn't watch a second of it. I don't know if any of you did.
Nope.
Any of the listeners.
Nope.
Didn't watch a second of it, but it's always asked every year, what would you do to fix the Pro Bowl? And to be honest,
You want the honest answer?
this year, my answer was just make it about Patrick Mahomes. Just have it be a Patrick Mahomes spectacular. Have him do every single skills competition event. Have him throw see if he can throw 90 yards down the field. Have him go up against every other quarterback, every other player, and everything. Just make it the Patrick Mahomes spectacular. That was my answer for this Pro Bowl. I think there's so many different things in general you can do to fix the Pro Bowl, but I don't know if the league will ever do it.
I disagree, to be honest. I believe there's only 2 things you can do to fix the Pro Bowl, and it's number 1, not making it the Pro Bowl. It's either A, turn it into, go from a game to a skills competition, kind of like what you talked about. I know they have skills competitions, but it's kind of
But it's on Thursday night.
it's goofy. Make it like it is in the NBA. I know you can't have a slam dunk in the NFL, but there's a lot of aspects of the game you can have.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be able to fix the Pro Bowl because it's clear, and I understand it. They're not going to play 100% because they're not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So there's no way, like in the NBA, it's like, oh, make it captains because the chances of getting hurt in the NBA compared to the NFL
slim.
is so slim because you're not making tackles. So you're never going to be able to fix there's going to be more defense. No. And the other option is just get rid of it. And I know that's bad because you should have an all-star game in the 4 major sports. But listen, like I just lined up, there's no real way of fixing it.
It's a different beast than the other ones.
Yeah,
and
because of so much physicality in the regular season compared to now.
When I say there's a lot of different ways to fix it, I mean that you could do different skills competitions. You can do different charity things, but it's there's just I agree with you. The game itself is not going to be. It's never going to be viable.
And the last thing, Sweeps chimes in saying it's two-man touch now. Pro Bowl is a disgrace. And then he says, classic Jason Garrett only scores 7 points and played offensive starters on defense.
How great was that?
No, I mean, that's Jason Garrett.
It's Jason Garrett. I think we used to have years ago, and this will be my last point, is years ago we used to have, for the Pro Bowl, their skills competition was legit.
Yeah.
They used to have the strongest man.
Yes.
And they used to have the 40-yard dash where, what was his name? Darryl Green used to come out every year and race it because he was the fastest man in the league. Like, have something like that.
Like the tricked up version of the combine or something.
Like, who wouldn't want to watch John Ross, the other speeches, Deshaun Jackson, Tyreek Hill, line up against each other and go 40-yard dash? Who's going to win?
I agree.
Who wouldn't want to see the top quarterbacks go up against each other, see who can hit all these different like targets on, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there's different ways to fix the skills competition as the main event. The game itself is never going to be a draw.
Sweeps also says, great show, boys. Thank you, Sweeps.
Thank you, Sweeps.
Everybody check out Sweeps every Sunday night or Sunday morning. Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. Yeah, I don't agree to disagree. Well, thank you for chiming in, guys. It was we got through it again by myself with Brodo. I got Little Me over here. I forgot to give him a shout out. Little Chucks. But I thank you again, Brodo, for assisting me today.
No problem.
With Chrome Gone. Chrome will be back hopefully next week. That's
I think Lazy Booking's back.
I think so too. I think for February. But tomorrow we got you guys are still having the fix tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the fix tomorrow, followed by AM and the PM. Hockey Happy Hour on Thursday. Philly Sports Guys on Friday. The Hooligans on Saturday. Agree to disagree, like we just said, on Sunday. And, of course, In This Very Ring and Sports Hounds on Monday. Thank you for all our sponsors. Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountant, GibsonMayer.com, and Specialized Physical Therapy, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. And thank you to the sponsor of our poll question, Scanzano Sports. Guys, it is Super Bowl week. We've got still a ton of shows lined up for the rest of the week, so enjoy them. Enjoy the Super Bowl, the last day of football before we get into the offseason. Birds of a Feather will have a lot of draft coverage in the upcoming weeks, a lot of off-season talk, so please return. We appreciate you coming out every week and giving us a listen. For myself, Brodo on the ones and twos, Chrome at home, thank you guys so much. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we will see you next week.